I left for what was supposed to be a routine business assignment 2 months ago. Routine. That's what I told myself when I kissed Caitlin goodbye at the airport, when I promised her I'd call every day, when I said I'd be back before she knew it. Routine. The contract was a big deal for our company, a major overseas construction project that needed my expertise in project management. 12-hour days became my new normal. God, I was exhausted. Every single day. But I kept going because I had a reason to endure it all. I had Caitlin waiting for me at home. My wife of 10 years. My college sweetheart. The woman I'd built my entire adult life around. 10 years ago, I'd stood in a garden surrounded by our closest friends and family, watching her walk toward me in a white dress, sunlight making her hair look like spun gold. My hands had been shaking when I slipped that ring onto her finger. Forever, I'd whispered. Forever, she'd whispered back. I believed her. 10 years of shared memories. Road trips where we'd sing off-key to the radio. That disaster of a camping trip where it rained for 3 solid days, and we'd spent the entire time in our tent playing cards and laughing about how terrible we were at outdoor survival. Paris for our 5th anniversary. I'd saved for months to make that trip perfect, and the look on her face when we reached the top of the Eiffel Tower had made every penny worth it. We'd held each other through the bad times too. When my father died, she'd been my rock. When she lost her job 3 years ago, I'd held her while she cried and told her we'd figure it out together. That's what marriage was supposed to be, right? Partnership, support, choosing each other every single day. But lately something had felt off. I noticed it even before I left for this assignment. Our conversations had become shorter, more functional. Less, how was your day, tell me everything, and more fine. Yours? Busy. Okay. The warmth had cooled to something lukewarm, something that worried me in the quiet moments before sleep. When I'd call her from overseas, she seemed distracted. Her eyes would drift away from the camera during our video calls. She'd mention she was tired, or busy with work, or had plans she needed to get ready for. Always something pulling her attention away from me. I made excuses for her. For us. The time difference was brutal. When I finally had a free moment, she was often just waking up or about to go to bed. Her job at the marketing agency had been demanding lately. She'd mentioned that. We were just in a rough patch. Every marriage has them, right? I convinced myself that when I got home, everything would go back to normal. We'd have our date nights again. We'd take that cooking class we'd been talking about. Maybe we'd finally plan that trip to Japan we'd been dreaming of for years. I'd work less, pay more attention, be more present. We'd fix this little distance between us. I never suspected the truth. Why would I? We were Harry and Caitlin. We were solid. We were forever. I was such a fool. Friday evening, I was in the hotel lobby, exhausted from another brutal week, planning to order room service and video call Caitlin. Maybe watch a movie together over the phone. We used to do that sometimes when I traveled. It was one of our things. That's when Marcus found me. He was one of the engineers I'd been working with. Good guy, easy to get along with, always had a joke ready to lighten tense meetings. He had Stephanie and James with him. Stephanie was this sharp architect who could defuse any argument with a perfectly timed comment, and James was the quiet accountant who surprised everyone with his dry humor once you got past his reserved exterior. Harry, Marcus called out, grinning. We're hitting the coast tomorrow. There's this incredible beach about an hour away. White sand, crystal water, amazing seafood. You've been killing yourself with work, man. Come with us. You need a break. I hesitated. My instinct was to say no. I should spend time with Caitlin, even if just over video. But when I pulled out my phone, I saw that my last 3 messages to her had gone unanswered. Read receipts showed she'd seen them, but no response. Not even a quick busy talk later. That knot of anxiety in my stomach tightened. Where was she? What was she doing that was so important she couldn't send me a single text? But I pushed those thoughts down. She was probably just caught up in something. Maybe her phone battery died. Maybe she was at the gym, or the grocery store, or having lunch with a friend. There were 100 innocent explanations. When was the last time you did something for yourself? Stephanie asked, reading the hesitation on my face. Something that wasn't work or worry. You've earned a day off, Harry. I looked at my phone again. Still nothing from Caitlin. A small, petty part of me thought, fine. If she's too busy for me, I'll do something for myself. All right, I heard myself say. Yeah, why not? I could use some sun and fresh air. The decision was made. We'd leave early Saturday morning, spend the day by the ocean, and be back by evening. Just one day. Just a small break from the monotony of hotel rooms and conference calls. If I'd known what I would find on that beach, I would have stayed in my room. I would have called Caitlin 100 times until she answered. I would have flown home early. I would have done anything except get in that car the next morning. But I didn't know. So I went. Saturday morning was perfect. Literally perfect. The drive to the coast was beautiful. We took a scenic route through rolling hills, past small villages with stone churches and flower-filled gardens. I found myself relaxing for the first time in weeks. The windows were down, music playing, and for a few hours, I wasn't thinking about work deadlines or Caitlin's distance or anything stressful. I was just present. When we arrived at the beach, I understood the hype. The coastline stretched out in a perfect arc, golden sand meeting turquoise water that sparkled under the afternoon sun. It wasn't crowded, just scattered families and couples enjoying the weather. Lunch was at a beachside restaurant, grilled fish that tasted like it had been caught that morning, crispy fries, cold beer. We sat at a wooden table with a view of the waves, and I realized I was genuinely happy in that moment. Not thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Just enjoying simple pleasures, good food, good company, sunshine. As evening approached, we decided to walk along the beach before heading back. We strolled slowly, sharing more stories. The sea, the fresh air, the warmth of the day, the easy friendship. Everything seemed ideal. I felt grateful for this day, for these people who'd pulled me out of my isolation. And then I saw them. Two figures in the distance, silhouetted against the setting sun. A couple standing close together at the water's edge. They were kissing, wrapped up in each other, oblivious to everything else. It was the kind of scene you'd see on a postcard, romantic, intimate, private. I almost looked away. It wasn't my business. But something made me look closer. The woman's hair, that particular shade of auburn that looked almost gold in the right light. I knew that color. I'd run my fingers through that hair 1,000 times. The knot in my stomach returned, vicious and tight. She was wearing a blue sundress. I knew that dress. I'd been there when she bought it last summer, watched her twirl in front of the dressing room mirror, told her she looked beautiful in it. And those earrings catching the light, silver hoops with turquoise stones. I'd given those to her for our 9th anniversary. She'd cried when she opened the box, told me they were perfect, told me I knew her so well. No, it couldn't be. My feet were moving before I made a conscious decision. Marcus called after me, "Harry, where are you going?" But I couldn't answer, couldn't speak. All the air had left my lungs. Each step felt like wading through concrete. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Please be wrong. Please let this be a mistake. Please let it be someone who just looks like her. But I knew. Deep down, I already knew. The couple was laughing now, still holding each other. The man was younger than me, mid-20s maybe, dark hair, athletic build. He had that carefree look of someone without responsibilities, someone whose biggest worry was which bar to hit that night. I was maybe 10 feet away when I called out, "Caitlin." Just her name. That's all I said. But it carried everything, confusion, disbelief, the desperate hope that I was wrong, that this was some terrible mistake. She turned around. And the look on her face, I'll see that look in my nightmares for the rest of my life. The color drained from her skin instantly. Her eyes went wide, pupils dilating in pure shock. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. It was her. My wife. My Caitlin. Here, on a beach hours from home, in another man's arms. Time seemed to stop. Or maybe it was just me who stopped, frozen in that moment of absolute certainty, watching my entire world collapse in slow motion. The young guy looked confused, glancing between us. "Kate," he said. Then, looking at me with dawning realization and horror. "Wait, you're married?" The way he said it, the genuine shock in his voice, told me everything I needed to know. He hadn't known. She'd lied to him too. This wasn't some affair where they'd knowingly deceived me together. She'd lied to both of us. He was just another victim of her deception, though in a different way. Caitlin still hadn't spoken. Her hands had dropped from his shoulders. She stood there frozen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I waited. Part of me still wanted her to explain, to somehow make this make sense, to give me a reason that would put my shattered world back together. But what explanation could possibly exist? What words could undo what I'd just seen? "Harry, she finally started, her voice cracking. But I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't hear it, because anything she said would just be more lies, more excuses, more ways to avoid taking responsibility for destroying everything we'd built together. 10 years. 10 years of my life. 10 years of choosing her, being faithful to her, building a future with her. 10 years of believing in forever. And she'd thrown it all away for what? A fling with some kid on a beach? How long had this been going on? Was this why she'd been so distant, why she never answered my calls? Had there been others before him? The questions flooded my mind, but I realized with sudden clarity that I didn't want the answers. The specifics didn't matter. Whether this was her first time or her 10th, whether it had been going on for weeks or months, none of that changed the fundamental truth standing in front of me. She had betrayed me. She had broken her vows. She had chosen this stranger over our marriage. My hand moved to my left ring finger. The wedding band I'd worn for 10 years, never taking it off, not once. Not in the shower, not while sleeping, not even when I'd lost weight and it had gotten loose. It was part of me, as essential as my own skin. Or so I'd thought. I twisted it slowly, feeling the familiar metal slide over my knuckle. Caitlin's eyes tracked the movement, and something like panic finally broke through her shock. "Harry, please," she started, reaching toward me. But I was done listening. I pulled the ring free and held it up for a moment, watching the dying sunlight glint off it one last time. This circle of metal that was supposed to represent eternal love, unbroken commitment, a bond that death alone could sever. What a joke. I drew my arm back and threw it as hard as I could into the ocean. The ring made a small splash, barely visible against the waves, and then it was gone. Swallowed by the sea like it had never existed at all. Like the last 10 years had never existed. "Stay here," I said. My voice was calm, terrifyingly calm, even to my own ears. "Don't come back." Each word was measured, controlled. But beneath that control was a hurricane of emotion. Pain, anger, betrayal, disappointment. Not just in her, but in myself for being so blind, for making excuses for her distance, for being naive enough to think our love was special, different, strong enough to withstand anything. Caitlin reached toward me, tears now streaming down her face. "Please, Harry, let me explain." "No," I said simply. I looked at her, really looked at her, for what I knew would be the last time. This woman I'd loved for so long, who'd been my best friend, my partner, my everything. She looked like a stranger now. Someone I'd never really known at all. "There's nothing to explain. I saw everything I needed to see." "It's not what you think," she tried again, her voice breaking. "It's exactly what I think," I cut her off. "You were in another man's arms. Kissing him. On a beach where you thought I'd never find you. That's all I need to know." The young guy had stepped back, looking horrified and confused. "Dude, I swear, I didn't know she was married. She never said." I held up a hand. "I believe you. This isn't your fault." I looked back at Caitlin. "It's hers." I turned and started walking away. Behind me, I heard Caitlin sob, a sound of genuine anguish. Part of me, some stupid loyal part that had loved her for a decade, wanted to turn back, to comfort her, to fix this somehow. But I kept walking. Because she didn't deserve my comfort. She'd made her choice. She'd chosen this lie, this deception, this betrayal. She'd chosen to risk everything we had for whatever this was. And now she had to live with the consequences. My colleagues were waiting a respectful distance away. Their faces were somber. They'd seen enough to understand what had happened, even if they didn't know all the details. Marcus stepped forward and put a hand on my shoulder. His grip was firm, grounding. "Come on, man," he said quietly. "Let's get out of here." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. We walked back along the beach, past families packing up their things, past couples still enjoying the sunset, past all these people living their normal, unshattered lives. I envied them. Just hours ago, I'd been one of them, someone whose biggest problem was work stress and feeling a little disconnected from their spouse. Now I was someone whose entire life had just imploded. Someone whose wife had cheated. Someone whose marriage was over. Someone who'd just thrown his wedding ring into the ocean like it meant nothing. But it had meant nothing to her. That was the truth I was starting to accept. Whatever that ring meant to me, commitment, loyalty, love, it hadn't meant the same thing to her. We reached the parking lot. I climbed into the back seat of the car, and Marcus drove us away from that beach. Away from my wife. Away from the life I'd thought I had. I watched through the window as the coastline disappeared behind us. That beautiful beach that had seemed so perfect just hours ago. Now it would forever be the place where I learned the truth. The place where my marriage died. Caitlin's phone must have been blowing up with messages and calls, but I didn't look at mine. I knew she'd be trying to reach me. But I had nothing to say to her. Not now. Maybe not ever. We didn't head straight back to the hotel. Without anyone suggesting it, we ended up at a bar near the beach, a weathered place with a deck overlooking the water. The kind of establishment that had probably been serving drinks to heartbroken souls for decades. I ordered whiskey. Neat. Then another. Then another. I wasn't usually a heavy drinker. A beer after work sometimes, wine with dinner on weekends. But tonight, I wanted to feel nothing. I wanted to drown the images playing on repeat in my mind. Caitlin's face when she turned around. That guy's arms around her. The way they'd been laughing together, so comfortable, like they'd done this many times before. My colleagues stayed with me. They didn't push me to talk, didn't offer empty platitudes. They just sat with me. Sometimes that's all you can do for someone whose world has just ended. Just be there, a quiet presence that says, you're not alone. After my third drink, the words finally came. 10 years, I said, my voice rough. I stared at my glass, watching the amber liquid catch the light. I gave her 10 years of my life. Marcus nodded slowly. I know, man. I was faithful. Every single day. Every business trip, every late night at work, every time some woman flirted with me at a conference, I chose Caitlin. Always Caitlin. I laughed, but there was no humor in it, just bitterness. I thought she was making the same choice. Stephanie said nothing. What could she say? Sometimes there are no words that can make it better. Was I stupid? I asked, looking at them with genuine confusion. Were there signs I missed? Was I just blind? No, James said firmly. It was the most assertive I'd ever heard him. This isn't on you. You trusted your wife. That's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. She's the one who broke that trust. She's the one who made the choice to throw away 10 years. During the drive back, I sat in the back seat, watching the dark landscape roll by. My mind felt clearer now, the alcohol paradoxically bringing clarity instead of confusion. I knew what I had to do. This wasn't something that could be fixed with conversations or counseling or apologies. This was done. We were done. Tomorrow, I'd start the process of ending my marriage. Tonight, I'd just try to survive the pain. I woke up in my hotel room with a pounding headache and a mouth that tasted like regret. For one blissful moment, that space between sleep and full consciousness, I thought maybe it had all been a nightmare. Then I looked at my left hand. The pale band of skin where my wedding ring had been for 10 years was a stark reminder. It had happened. All of it. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Caitlin. Dozens of text messages. I could see the first few words of each one on my lock screen. Harry, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. I love you. Please talk to me. I deleted them all without reading further. There was nothing she could say that would change what I'd seen. Nothing that would make this better or okay or forgivable. I lay in bed for a while, staring at the ceiling, feeling the full weight of what had happened settle over me. My marriage was over. The life I'd been building, the future I'd imagined, all of it was gone. But as I lay there, something shifted inside me. The shock and pain were still there, but beneath them was something else, anger. Not the hot, explosive kind, but cold and resolute. She'd done this to me. To us. She'd made her choices, and now I would make mine. I got up, took a long shower, as if I could wash away yesterday, and started to think practically. Emotions would come and go in waves, I knew that. But actions would determine my future. I made a mental list. Get home immediately, secure my home and assets, end this marriage legally and permanently. I called my supervisor, explained I had a family emergency and needed to return home immediately. Given my performance and the look on my face when I said it, he didn't ask questions. They'd manage without me. I booked a flight for that afternoon. The flight was long and miserable. When I landed in my home city, everything felt surreal. This place where I'd built my life with Caitlin. Our favorite coffee shop was visible from the taxi. The park where we'd had our first picnic as a married couple. The movie theater where we'd seen hundreds of films together. All of it felt tainted now, repainted in shades of betrayal and lies. I took a taxi straight to my house. My house, I reminded myself. It was in my name, purchased with money I'd saved before we even got married. I'd always thought of it as ours, but legally it was mine. That fact was about to become very important. The house was empty when I arrived. Caitlin was probably still at the beach, or maybe at her parents' place, or with a friend. I didn't know and didn't care. I moved with purpose. First, I called a 24/7 locksmith. I need my locks changed, I said. All of them. As soon as possible. Today. We can have someone there in 2 hours, the dispatcher said. Perfect. While I waited, I called Gerald Hayes, a lawyer and family friend my father had recommended years ago. Gerald, it's Harry Davidson. I need to file for divorce. Immediately. There was a pause. I'm sorry to hear that, Harry. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? Yes. 9 a.m. I'll be there. All right. Bring any financial documents you have, bank statements, property deeds, investment accounts. And Harry, what are the grounds? Adultery. I caught her with another man. I have witnesses. That will make things more straightforward. I'll start preparing the paperwork. After I hung up, I began the hardest task, gathering Caitlin's belongings. Every item I touched was a memory. Her mystery novels on the shelf, including the one I'd bought her last Christmas, signed by the author because I'd stood in line for 2 hours at a bookstore. Her favorite coffee mug with that ridiculous pun that always made her smile. Her clothes in the closet, including that blue sundress she'd been wearing on the beach. I worked mechanically, folding everything neatly, placing it all in boxes and suitcases. Despite everything, I wouldn't be cruel. She'd get all her possessions. But I would be thorough. By the time I was done, there would be no trace of her left in this house. It took hours. Each room held pieces of our life together. The kitchen where we'd cooked meals together. The living room where we'd watched countless movies. The bedroom where we'd made love and talked about our dreams and held each other through bad nights. All of it was just a house now. Not a home. Not anymore. The locksmith arrived and changed all the locks. I watched him work, feeling a grim satisfaction. She couldn't just walk back in. Couldn't come home and pretend nothing had happened. By evening, I had filled my car with boxes and bags. The house felt different already. Emptier, yes, but also lighter. Like a weight had been removed. I had one more task to complete today. I drove across town to Caitlin's parents' house. Robert and Linda Thompson had always been good to me. From the day Caitlin first brought me home to meet them, they'd welcomed me like a son. Robert had taught me how to fix my car. Linda had given me her mother's recipe for pot roast. They'd been at our wedding, crying happy tears. This was going to hurt them too. They loved their daughter. But they were good people, and good people don't condone betrayal. I pulled into their driveway and began unloading boxes onto their porch. I was on my third trip when the front door opened. Linda stood there, her face confused. Harry? What's going on? What are all these boxes? Robert appeared behind her. Son? What's happening? I set down the box I was carrying and straightened up. For a moment, I didn't know how to say it. How do you tell people that their daughter has destroyed everything? These are Caitlin's things, I said finally. She can't come back to our house. She'll need to stay here or find somewhere else. What? Linda's confusion was giving way to worry. Harry, I don't understand. Did you two have a fight? No. I kept my voice steady. A fight is when two people disagree about something. This is different. I paused, looking at these people who'd been nothing but kind to me. Ask your daughter what she was doing on the beach last weekend. I watched Linda's face change. Confusion to understanding to horror. Maybe on some level, she'd already suspected something. Parents often sense these things, even when they don't want to believe them. Oh no, she whispered. Oh Harry, no. Robert's expression had hardened. He was a former Marine, and I could see that military discipline in the way he held himself now. What did she do? I saw her with another man. They were together. Kissing. More than kissing. The words tasted bitter. I've filed for divorce. My lawyer will be in touch. But she can't come back to the house. I've changed the locks. Harry, please. Linda reached toward me, tears forming in her eyes. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. You've been wonderful to me. I've always considered you family. But I can't. I can't be around anything connected to her right now. I need a clean break. Robert nodded slowly. There was disappointment in his eyes and anger, but not directed at me. We understand, son. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. This isn't how we raised her. This isn't. He trailed off, shaking his head. I finished unloading the car while Linda cried quietly and Robert stood with his arm around her shoulders. When the last box was placed with the others, I took one final look at them. These people who might have been my children's grandparents someday. In another life. In the life I'd thought I was living. Goodbye, I said simply. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and legal meetings. Gerald proved to be worth every penny. He handled everything with efficient professionalism, protecting my interests while moving the process forward as quickly as possible. Caitlin tried to contact me dozens of times. Calls, texts, emails, even showing up at my workplace once. I'd had security escort her out. She'd looked terrible, eyes red from crying, hair unwashed, like she hadn't slept in days. Part of me felt sorry for her, But a larger part, the part that had seen her in another man's arms, felt nothing. She didn't contest the divorce. Didn't fight for the house or alimony. Just signed where Gerald told her to sign. We never had to speak directly. Everything went through our lawyers. I heard through mutual friends that she claimed it was a mistake, that she'd never meant for it to happen, that she still loved me. Some of our friends took her side, said I should at least hear her out, that everyone deserves a second chance. I cut those friends out too. Clean break. Fresh start. Because here's what I'd learned. Love isn't something you do when it's convenient. It's not something that just happens when someone attractive pays attention to you. Love is a choice you make every single day, even when it's hard, even when something shiny and new catches your eye. I'd made that choice every day for 10 years. She hadn't. That was all I needed to know. I threw myself into work, took on extra projects, stayed late. My colleagues understood and didn't push. Marcus, Stephanie, and James, the ones who'd been there that day, checked in regularly, making sure I was eating, sleeping, functioning. Slowly, life became manageable again. The house that had felt too empty at first became my sanctuary. I redecorated, changed things to suit my taste instead of our compromised choices. I discovered I actually liked cooking. Took up running. Started reading again. Some days were harder than others. I'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there. Or I'd see something funny and think, I should tell Caitlin, before remembering. But those moments became less frequent. The divorce was finalized 3 months after that day on the beach. I received the papers in the mail. I looked at them for a long time, at the official stamp that said my marriage was over, that Caitlin and I were no longer bound together. I expected to feel something big, sadness, relief, anger. Instead, I just felt free. 6 months after the beach, I sat on my back porch on a Saturday morning, watching the sunrise with a cup of coffee. These quiet moments had become my favorite part of the week. No rush, no agenda, just peace. People sometimes asked me if I regretted getting married, if I'd become cynical about love. The answer was no. I'd given Caitlin 10 years of loyalty, love, and trust. That wasn't something to regret. I'd been faithful to my vows. I'd loved genuinely. Those were good things, even if she hadn't valued them. What I'd learned, what I carried with me now, was that I deserved better. That loyalty should be reciprocated. That trust should be earned and maintained. That love should flow both ways. She'd given me betrayal on a sunny shore. But she'd also given me freedom. Freedom from wondering if I was enough. Freedom from living with someone who didn't value what we had. Freedom to start over, to set new standards for what I'd accept in my life, to understand my own worth. The pain had been real and sharp. It left scars. But scars are proof of healing, evidence that you survived something that could have broken you. I learned that sometimes losing someone, even someone you thought was your forever, is the best kind of freedom. The freedom to rediscover yourself, to rebuild on your own terms, to know that you can survive the worst and come out stronger. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.